The first thing that weighed down the classroom air was not the heat seeping through the jalousie windows, nor the sound of the old electric fan struggling to turn, but the teacher's pointed finger in front of everyone, accompanied by words that felt like a verdict. Kai stood by his chair, wearing a white polo shirt damp with sweat, a backpack slung over one shoulder, eyes forced open in shame. Behind him, classmates were watching, some grinning, some curious, and one holding up a cell phone, silently recording as if anticipating something worse. And in that moment, only one question mattered. How far would the bullying go before it turned back on the mocker? The afternoon was hot, and the air smelled of chalk. In front, a blackboard filled with writing and eraser marks like clouds. Amid the old armchairs stood Mr. Moreno, voice sharp, jaw tight, holding a sheet of paper that seemed like evidence of guilt. "You again, Kai," he said, scanning him from head to toe, as if looking for a reason to disgust. "What, you didn't understand again? Or, you just like this?" Kai didn't speak. He swallowed, feeling the pulse in his throat. He was used to labels weak, troublemaker, problematic. But today, the teacher's gaze was different, more personal, more insulting. "Students," Mr. Moreno's voice suddenly boomed, ensuring everyone at the back could hear. "Look at this, a simple test. And he can't do it. And you think I'm unfair?" He raised the paper, letting it rustle in the air. "Kai, tell me, why are all the answers blank?" "Sir," Kai answered softly, trying to stay steady. "They're not blank. I have answers. Maybe what?" the teacher hissed, pointing at him. "Maybe you just don't know the answers. Maybe you expect pity. Life doesn't work that way." Then, at that point, he let go a word that exploded through the silence. "You have some nerve. You're black, and yet you dare to look smart here." Some laughed, but not all. Two students at the back exchanged looks, sensing something wrong but too timid to speak. The one recording gripped the phone tighter. Others gawked, clearly unprepared for the teacher to say that aloud. Kai's ears turned red, but he didn't retort. In his eyes were tears he refused to shed, not because he was weak, but because he didn't want to entertain the onlookers. "Sir," he said again, slower this time, "I studied. Yesterday, I watched over my sibling at the hospital. But I still answered, 'Excuse me.'" Mr. Moreno cut him off, throwing the paper on the desk. "Every day there's a drama. That's you. You're loud when there's an excuse. But when it's an exam, nothing." He nodded as if proving a point. "Do you know why you won't succeed? Because you're used to relying on others. You're used to covering laziness." In the back, one classmate smiled as if watching a show. A girl frowned, unable to look. And Kai, still standing, felt the heat at the nape of his neck and the weight of the class's eyes squeezing at his very being. Kai suddenly picked up the paper from the desk. Not aggressively, not abruptly. He looked at the test sheet and saw the problem. Some of his answers were checked, but in red ink on the side was a note. "Suspicious possible cheating." It was as if he were condemned before being heard, judged not for his answers, but for his appearance and reputation. "Sir," he whispered, "I did not cheat." Mr. Moreno laughed, a sound that was faint but hurtful. "Who will believe you? Everyone here knows what kind of student you are." And there, something stirred in Kai's chest, not anger, but a decision long buried. Slowly, he held the strap of his backpack, took a deep breath, and looked forward. "Sir," he said clearer now. Someone is coming. Huh? The teacher paused briefly. An observation, Kai added, and for the first time his voice didn't tremble. The advisor said there's a visitor from the division. It was as if time conspired. At that very moment, a knock came at the door. 3 quick taps, heavy. The door opened, and in walked a woman in a blazer, with an ID lanyard, accompanied by 2 others, a staff with a clipboard, and a visibly nervous principal. The classroom went silent. The one recording lowered the phone, seemingly afraid of being caught. "Good afternoon," the woman said, calm but with authority that could not be ignored. "I'm here for the classroom observation." Mr. Moreno stiffened. Suddenly formal, his arrogance frozen. "Ah, ma'am, welcome," he said, forcing a smile. "We're just—" But the woman didn't immediately look at him. She looked at Kai, and whispers began, because her gaze at Kai was not like anyone else's. It was not the teacher's gaze at a student. It was a mother's gaze full of worry and restrained pain. "Kai," she called softly, loud enough for the class to hear. Eyes widened. One student clapped a hand over their mouth. The 2 who were laughing earlier suddenly bowed their heads. "Ma'am," stuttered Mr. Moreno, "you know him?" The woman stepped to the middle of the room, facing the class. "I am Dr. Helena Rivera," she said clearly. "Education program supervisor, and yes, Kai's mother." It was like something hit the air. Not a shout, not a slap, but heavier. The kind of truth that silences a room. The students' eyes changed not because of favoritism, but because they realized the child they judged had a life they did not know. He had a mother he did not boast of. There was a reason he remained quiet. "I am not here as his mother," Dr. Rivera continued, looking at Mr. Moreno. "I am here as an evaluator. But I heard what you said, black, lazy, who will believe? And I want to ask you, is that teaching? Is that shaping a child?" The teacher paled. He tried to smile but failed. "Ma'am, sorry, I just got carried away." "That is not getting carried away, Doctor," Rivera interrupted, calm but with each syllable like a hammer. "It is choice. You chose to shame, you chose to judge, and you chose to use skin color as an insult." "Doctor," Rivera looked at Kai. "Son," she said softly, "sit down." And in Kai's eyes, the tears finally fell, not because he lost, but because at last someone saw him as a person, not a label. Dr. Rivera breathed deeply and faced the class again. "Children," she said, "I am not here to scare your teacher or embarrass him in front of you. I am here to say that respect is not optional. A classroom should be safe, especially for the quiet child, for the one others choose to laugh at." In the back, one girl lowered her head, a trace of regret on her face. The boy who gawked earlier was now even quieter, and Mr. Moreno, standing in front, saw his own behavior reflected for the first time. After the observation, the news did not immediately spread. No handcuffs, no dramatic scene, but there was process, a report, a memo, and above all, a change in the classroom, because a truth that is often hidden behind jokes, and it's normal, had been recorded. Before leaving, Dr. Rivera looked at Mr. Moreno and the class. "The lesson today," she said, "is not math or English. The lesson today is humanity." And Kai, sitting and holding his backpack strap, knew his struggle was not over. But he had regained one thing, the dignity almost lost in the heat and shame of the afternoon.